Nursery and greenhouse production is one of the largest and fastest growing segments of the U.S. agriculture and was the fifth largest crop commodity group in U.S. agriculture. How did nursery crop production become such a significant U.S. agricultural industry? How did the industry adjust to the changes in the national technology and societal frontiers? I'm Dr. DeBusk, and this video will focus on a brief history of the nursery industry. The American nursery industry undoubtedly began in Massachusetts Bay Colony, where the settlers grew young fruit trees as part of the general farm operation. The first major commercial nursery established in the United States was the Prince Nursery, also known for many years as the Linnean Botanic Garden at Flushing, New York. In 1737, William Prince started by cultivating a few trees to landscape his property. His success led him to commercial production, and shortly thereafter he published a catalog listing several hundred varieties. From it were stocked nearly all of the grafted apple, cherry, and pear orchards of New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, and Connecticut. Prince Nursery continued for over a century and introduced many outstanding foreign plants to the New World. By 1827, it contained over 100 species of plants from Australia alone. The nursery also experimented with plant breeding and introduced a number of new selections. As a result, its catalogs during the first half of the 19th century were considered the best in the trade. Horticulture graced Florida before Europeans. We see wisps of it, archaeological remains of cucurbit and pepper seeds, and native agaves and papayas, probably brought from afar. In 1881, 18-year-old Pliny Reasoner left his father's farm and extensive nursery in Princeton, Illinois, to settle in Onecho, Florida, and pursued his fascination with tropical horticulture. In 1885, with his brother Egbert, he issued the first Reasoner Brothers Royal Palm Nursery catalog. The Reasoner Brothers Nursery was, until 1997, the oldest continually operating nursery in Florida and was famous for the introduction of palms, pink grapefruit, loquat, mango, kumquat, avocado, lychee, and many other species into Florida. However, the earliest plantings of horticultural crops in America most likely accompanied the establishment of St. Augustine in 1565, where the Spanish introduced Mediterranean fruits, most notably orange, pomegranate, and fig trees, to what would later become the state of Florida. The Soar brothers, John, Victor, and Francis, followed the railroad to Miami and founded the Soar Brothers Nursery there in 1897. The brothers took up exploring for plants around the southern Everglades and Miami area. The Soar Brothers Nursery made two especially prominent introductions to horticulture: the Parias palm and the Boston fern. According to legend, the fern went from the brothers to Boston, where it acquired its name and became the main indoor foliage plant of the era. Growing tropical ferns in heated northern greenhouses cut profits. In 1912, a smart Ohio greenhouse clerk had the idea of producing the fern cheaply in its natural environment in Florida. Harry Usler came from Springfield, Ohio to Orlando and initially worked as a hotel waiter. A hotel guest helped the young entrepreneur launch a fern business in an old pineapple facility. Later, Usler and his brothers started the Usler Brothers Nursery in Apopka as the first large foliage operation there. Soon the leatherleaf fern joined in, those two species dominating the Apopka foliage industry until approximately 1930. For the nursery industry, 1912 was a significant year. The first National Plant Quarantine Act was passed and parcel posts went into effect. The Plant Quarantine Act prohibited the importation of certain plants into the country. And Plant Quarantine Number 37, effective in 1919, created a favorable economic situation for American growers by severely restricting plant imports. In fact, American nurseries soon found it necessary to import skilled propagators from Europe. Passage of the Parcel Post Act paved the way for the rapid development of the mail order business. It's still a huge business, but when the horseless carriage arrived and as better roads were built and more people could afford automobiles, growers also found it advantageous to develop retail outlets. Garden centers started by way of seed houses, sometimes accidentally. Sometime around 1784, David Landreth established the seed house of David Landreth and Sons in Philadelphia. This was probably the first establishment of its kind in the United States. The first special census of nurseries, conducted in 1890, revealed that 4,500 nurseries occupied about 173,000 acres of land and employed more than 45,000 men, 2,000 women, and 14,000 animals. 2/3 of the nursery were small, 2 to 25 acres, and produced a variety of materials for local demand. Another group produced either a general line of nursery stock or specialized in a fewer items, such as small fruit, and relied on newspaper advertising and catalogs for their orders. A third group, the large producer, catered to the wholesale trade by issuing trade catalogs to other growers, to extensive planters, and to nursery agents. Some of these nurseries were 1,000 acres or more, shipped in railroad car lots, and in the busy season by the trainload. A fourth group produced a general assortment of stock and sold through salesmen who canvassed from house to house and farm to farm, selling millions of plants. Total nursery production in 1890 was estimated to be approximately 3.4 billion plants, primarily fruit trees and small fruit plants. In 1992, the U.S. Census of Agriculture reported U.S. nurseries productions at $2.6 billion, and that the leading states were California, Florida, Illinois, and Oregon. During the 1950s and 1960s, the total number of nurseries declined almost 50% in the 10 leading nursery states. Although the total acreage in the nursery stock in 7 of these states increased, the 3 states, Florida, New York, and Texas, showed a decrease. In addition to a change from fruit tree production to ornamental plant production, the nursery industry in the United States has experienced major changes in its methods of production and transportation. Machines have gradually replaced animals and reduced the need for hand labor. The introduction of hydraulic power made it possible the development of mechanical planters, tree diggers, lifting and loading equipment, and high-speed packaging and potting machines. The development of selective chemical weed control agents, improved pesticides, and slow or controlled release fertilizers also changed cultural practices significantly. But the most pronounced change in the industry was the large-scale production of container-grown plants. Although the systems of growing plants in containers was known for centuries, it was not adapted to large-scale production of small plants until after World War II. The development of national highway systems in the mid-1950s and 1960s brought about another major change in the shipping of nursery stock. Rapid truck delivery permitted pickup at the site of production and delivery to the point of sale or of planting in the landscape. Advances were also made in irrigation of nursery-grown plants. In the later part of the 1950s, drip irrigation was introduced into the nursery industry in the production of container-grown plants. In the mid-1970s, trickle irrigation was introduced into field production of shade trees, which resulted in faster growth and more compact root systems. The computer was introduced into the nursery industry in the late 1960s as an office machine to aid in managing financial data and processing of orders by large nurseries. The development of the relatively inexpensive personal computer and intranet systems, linking personal computers in one office, permits rapid communication and sharing of inventory, sales, and shipping data. Personal computers now control irrigation systems based on local climate conditions as well as lighting, ventilation, and indoor temperature for effective production of nursery-grown plants. They are used to obtain hourly weather updates from radar and track major changes in the weather that could influence work schedules or permit time for damage control in the event of severe storms. In conclusion, although this is only a brief history of the nursery industry, it evolved in time to become where it is today.